So we got an email from a listener who is having a hard time with his kids. And I love this question. Her kids. Sorry.
It's okay.
Here, what would you read it
Sure.
to us? I think it sounds more lovely when you read than when I read.
That's not true. Good morning. I don't know if you're planning a segment on parenting or if there's any experts to help. I have 4 boys. The oldest are 8 and 9. They do wonderful in school and are seriously really good boys. My issue is that they aren't seeming to pick up the fact that they need to fulfill their responsibilities at home, and playing sports seem to be their life. I've tried charts, daily chores, incentives, and now I have a daily schedule that has even lessened some expectations, as in cleaning bathrooms consists of just cleaning the counters and taking out the trash, instead of cleaning the mirror and the toilet and baseboards as well. After 5.5 years of expected to simply bring down the laundry and trash from the bathroom in the morning, they don't even do that with reminders. I'm beyond frustrated. I've grounded them. I've not allowed them to play I've grounded them to and play instead of clean, additional or extra reading or extra writing, and that hasn't worked. I'm not wanting to tell them, since they can't fulfill a simple 10-minute chores at home, that they can't go to wrestling practice. We're a big sports family, and they live for sports. I don't want to take it away, but nothing seems to matter or change this lack of responsibility. Do other parents find the same? How is everyone teaching their boys and expected responsibilities to be completed? I've talked to them about how God trusts us with little, and when we show that we can be trusted, he blesses us with so much more. I'm at a complete loss. Can you help?
I've got a crowd of kids. Some of them, asking them to help out, not a problem. As long as you're not overdoing it,
right?
They're happy to help. Others, if you say, like, will you, while you're seated, reach over and pick up that can of soda that's empty and hand it to me, you've asked them to be tortured. Like, and you're going, it's not mine. It's not mine. I don't care if it's not yours. Just pick it up. It's not mine. I didn't put it there. Okay. Well, we all at this, and then we have a lecture about families, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
How did you and Dana handle regular chore expectations? Do you remember?
I think between groundings, or taking away things, that tended to eventually work. I can remember when I was a kid, and much to my shame now, but
okay, I like it already.
I can remember when Mom and Dad, they must have discussed this in private, so then they brought it to the dinner table that, okay, you guys, when you're done eating, I'm going to ask you to take your dirty plates up to the sink and just put them in the sink. And how we thought that was like the Spanish Inquisition. How could that be? Why should we've never had to do. And now I look back and I think, I'd like to smack that 12-year-old Ron upside the head. But, it's, I don't know what it is. It's that undeveloped brain that just doesn't function quite right there.
I think there is a brain development issue of kids' awareness of things, ability to process things, remember things, doesn't fully develop until a year from now for Daria. That's what science says.
She's on the phone, so she can't defend herself.
And so our solution as a family, Sarah and I aren't in total agreement on this, but we found a way to work through it. Our answer will be disappointing to a lot of people. I've lowered the expectations dramatically. I don't want to spend my day fighting with my kids about chores. With 5 of them, I could.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I could spend every moment arguing with them about things they haven't picked up or things they're supposed to do, and I asked them to do it. So I've chosen not to. Daily chores, we don't have them. 0. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is I also don't want to run my kids ragged. I think part of being a kid needs to be having free time and enjoying life. Because when you're an adult, in my free time, I clean gutters.
Yeah.
And I do horrible things.
Yeah.
And so I want my kids to be kids.
This is so true.
Before they're required to do it for the rest of their lives. And so I feel like school and then sports, if they have them, or activities, encompasses such a big chunk of their day that during the week in particular, I don't have any other expectations of them on a regular basis. I don't. Because I feel like that's already a lot. And then, here's what, and this was Sarah's genius idea.
Okay.
On Saturdays, on a regular basis, we'll text everybody because it's, the new whatever millennium / whatever decade. And we'll say, there's a list of chores that need to get done on the counter. Everybody pick 2. And they do.
Do they then hurry to get the easiest 2?
Yep.
Yeah.
And they don't really complain because we don't ask a lot. So they're willing to help out when we ask to help out.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something in that because in adolescence, it's always a power struggle. They want power.
Yep.
And they want control. And so you are giving them the option. Within these boundaries of these chores have to get done, take your choice of which one you want. And they get power in that because they get to choose which one they want. And so they feel like they have more control and more power. And I think that's a part of negotiating with kids is where can they have the power? Where can they have the control within these boundaries? And that's what you've done for them. And I think that might be part of the reason why you're seeing that they're more willing to do it. It's because you're not forcing them to do this one thing and they're just trying to have a power struggle. You're saying, this has to get done. We're all going to do it, but you get a choice.
Yeah, and there's certainly still arguments.
Sure.
But they're once a week, not 7 days a week. And then I've also found this, like when we'll say get it done by X time, and then we'll come home and none of it's done or only half of it's done.
Yeah.
And we'll look at one of them and let's just say it's Matthias. Go, Matthias, have you done any of your chores? Oh, I forgot. Sorry. And then he runs and does them. We don't have to now you're grounded. Like grounding, hate it. I only do it if you really mess up because I hate it.
Yeah, it's punishment on the parents too.
But a lot of people would look at our strategy and think, your house must be a disaster and you really aren't disciplining your children. And I say, okay.
That's what works for your family.
Yeah.
I think that's important is that every family is going to be different and every child is going to be different.
And you know what? Our house does not look like, and I laughed when I saw a Facebook reel on this where somebody was doing an impression of their mom before guests came over. We need to make this place look like no one lives here. Hurry.
Get the couches out. No one can know we sit.
Yes.
And I do not subscribe to
I
that.
struggle against that a lot. I would love for my house to look like no one lives there. But that doesn't make sense. People live there.
Yep.
But I would really like for it to look like no one does.
And our kids' rooms, total disaster.
Well, that's their space.
I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. When you come over, I'm not taking you into their room. In fact, sometimes when people come over and they're like, hey, we'd love to see the house.
Nope.
My kids will say, you can't look at my room. It's because it's so gross. Fine. Okay. Sarah actually scheduled a time with our little boys. They share a room that it's cleaning day. And they spent 4 hours cleaning out that room. I just don't care.
My sister-in-law had a plan that worked good with her kids, and it might with yours too, who knows. But she would make the list and then assign a dollar value to every chore. And
no, that does work.
Get there quick, get more money.
Exactly.
That does work.
The younger daughter would complain because the older daughter would quick grab up the higher paying chores. And she'd be like, well, I can't make any money. Well, there's more to do, but you can make the money. And then you kind of have to readjust, I think. If you find that emptying the dishwasher is $1 and it gets done every week, maybe something that doesn't get done should be bumped up to $1.
Yeah, we did that with some success as well. Over time, what I found was the older kids start deciding things aren't worth the value. Be like, oh, well, you could go shovel the sidewalk for $5. $5? No, I'm good. Well, now suddenly I'm shoveling or I'm just dishing out half my paycheck to my kids to do stuff around the house. Sometimes getting kids to do chores is really hard to do. We had someone that asked for help on that. It's Follow-Up Friday, 440-546-2255. I shared my family strategy where we just don't want to fight all the time. They do not have daily chores. Once a week, we ask everybody to help out around the house and put out a list of chores, and they generally do. And life is much more peaceful. And our house is kind of messy, so what do you want? 440-546-2255. We got Christina, who's been patiently waiting on the line, because who knows, I could be totally off on this. Christina may have the answer for us. Christina, what do you think?
Well, I have an answer. I don't know if it's the answer.
There you go. That's how I feel.
But I will say a couple of things. What it sounded like in the email is that she isn't offering any consequences at all for the actions or inaction, actually. And she said she doesn't want to take the practices away from them, but it sounds like that might be what is needed. Also, if they don't bring their laundry down, guess what? They don't have clean clothes.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're not emptying the garbage, well, there's nowhere to put garbage. So there has to be natural consequences as well as, taking away the very thing that she doesn't want to take away, because that might be the answer.
Yeah, she was.
That's my offer.
She was kind of revealing without meaning to what the consequence has to be, because the consequence has to be something that bothers a kid.
Yeah, she said, I've grounded them and not allowed them to play, or they've had to clean extra reading and writing, and it hasn't worked.
Yeah, so you got to find what bothers them. When I was a kid, my mom always jokes about it was really hard to punish me because, like, if she put me in the corner or something, I would just like sing a song and dance. If she sent me to my room, I'd have a great time. There's lots to do in there. And so it would be like, Brian, go to the corner, take 2 steps back, lean forward. So I'd have my head in the corner and I couldn't dance. Then it was, Brian, go to your room, sit on the ground, cross-legged, on your hands, and don't speak. I mean, it was like, that was how she had to punish me, because nothing bothered me. So great points, Christina. I appreciate that.
Have a great day, guys. Bye.
You too. 440-546-2255. What else are you seeing?
Someone said, why do you even have to negotiate with your kids? If you don't do it, there's consequences, and that's all there is to it. By negotiate, I don't mean, if you do this, I'll give you 4 pennies. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about negotiating to get it done. Like, here's the options. Pick your option.
Like, you can do it before dinner or after dinner.
Exactly. Thank you, Daria. Yeah, you get a choice in it somehow. You don't get to choose if you do it or not, but there's a choice in it. Like, oh, you get to choose which chore, or you get to choose before or after dinner, so that they feel that they have some control over it.
That was so big when I was teaching. I think it's called choice theory. Very creative name, of course. But
It works for kids.
yeah, like
They want control.
You have 3 choices. But the worst way to do it, though, is you have 2 choices. Get in trouble or do what I'm asking you to do. That's not really a choice. It's really you demanding them to do something.
Right. And you've got to be able to back that up. To get in trouble, what is it going to be? And it may mean you as a parent suffer because you've got a grumpy kid in his room slamming books around or whatever, and you have to sit there and listen to it. Or you fire up even more internal anxiety and you go up there and say, you need to be more quiet in here, and just keep escalating. And then you run into the scripture that says not to, don't frustrate your child.
Don't provoke your child to anger.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
I should have been able to call that up.
I don't know why it took me a minute to process that. But I mean, and then you'll end up regretting as a parent, thinking about how angry you were for how many years.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had someone say they have 3 kids. She said, what's more important to you, the relationship or the clean house? I don't mean letting your kids' areas be a pigsty, but letting go of perfection is important. We had one kid whose room was always a mess and the other whose room was always immaculate, and they both had the same requirements from us. We had to let go of having the oldest room be how we wanted. Our relationship was always more important.
Yeah. And that's hard because I think a lot of us grew up in an environment that was do what I say or else. Follow the rules. Do the chores. And you simply have to ask yourself, and for some people, it's a hard thing to examine. So how's your relationship with your parents then?
Yeah.
If it's not close, try to figure out why. Maybe it's because all they did was act like police officers and hall monitors your entire life. Yeah, it is really picking your battles. Although you mentioned, Lauren, it's hard to let go of perfectionism.
Yeah, I would love my house to look like no one lived there.
Why is that?
I don't know. I don't want anything on the counters except the things that are supposed to be on the counters. my son, so he's just turned 1, so he had bottles, and we would set the bottles on the counter to be washed in the evening because I'm not going to wash them one by one. So they'd sit there for the day after he was done using them. And I just did not like that they sat there. I didn't like that the sanitizer, little microwave sanitizer thing sat there. But a kid lives here and I use it all day, every day. It's okay that it's sitting on the counter, but I just didn't want it there. I wanted it to look like no one lived here. But that's just not a house is to be lived in.
Yeah, Sarah has the same tendency. And I just watch. I love her so much, obviously. But it's been incredible to see her accept a different level of cleanliness.
Yeah.
Before, it would be like she'd come home and just be all wound up. Like, you people never do what I ask you to do. This place is a disaster. And now she'll come home with a smile and she'll start cleaning up things that she wants cleaned up.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't like that the dishwasher hasn't been emptied. She'll either ask someone to do it or just do it herself. No one's arguing. It's peaceful. There's something about the peace of that that's wonderful.
A mom of 9 boys find a way to make it fun.
That's true. When they're little, it works.
Yeah, it works when they're smaller.
Yeah, this mom says that she would set a timer for 15 minutes, make it a game. Okay, how much can we get done in this 15-minute span?
Yeah,
and then they move on to something else after that.
That's what I do with my 4-year-old is I do a countdown, and he sprints around the house for one item. I'll give him 10 seconds to put one item away. So he's running back and forth, and we do it over and over again until he doesn't want to put anything away anymore.
Yeah. Dana did that too.
Sarah tried a variation where she had a deck of cards and she'd be like, all right, pick a card. And whatever number it was is how many things you had to go pick up.
Oh, nice.
So
then you come back, get a new card.
So you're not just getting the house clean, you're enjoying time with your kids as well instead of fighting.
Right. But there's a very small window of time where that works. Like if I look at my, let's say 10-year-old and go, hey, go pick up your toys. I'll time you. He'll be like, no, I don't care. I don't care about doing it fast.
It's got to be a kid who wants to be fast or likes that energy.
Yeah, or is motivated by that and is silly enough and little enough to not realize what you're actually doing. We're not playing a game.
Yeah, exactly. One person texted in. What I do is I write a list of all the chores that need to be done, and then we take turns picking which ones we're going to do, and it seems to work for us. It's like you, like what your family does.
Yeah, and summertime is the hardest part for us because in the school year, I really don't like having many expectations at home for the kids because I want them to be people that live and enjoy their lives before they're adults and life's pretty miserable. And in the summertime, it's a different story when they're sleeping until noon and everything. So we try to do a list of chores that you have to get done before we get home, and with limited success.
We've had a couple people text in and say you could ask their coaches to talk with them too. If they really do love sports and they really do look up to their coaches, they may just be a different influential voice that they might listen to.
It's true.
Like, hey, you know how we take care of all of our sports equipment here and we all clean up together? You got to do that at home too. Like you're a team at home like you are here. And it would really help your mom out.
Coaches do carry weight with the kids. My son's soccer coach, the kids, when they're little, mom grabs the soccer bag and picks up all the stuff while the kid's running off to the car. And the coach said, I don't want to see that anymore. This is your soccer bag. It's your water bottle. It's your ball. You pick them up and you carry them. And the kids transformed right away. They listen.
That's good advice. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Ask the coach. I mean, it wouldn't work with high school sports. Please don't talk to the varsity coach about your kid's room. They don't want to hear about that.
Maybe younger kids.
I think it'd be younger kids. It could be the thorn in your flesh, getting your kids to do the chores that you've asked them to do.
So true.
Oh, yeah.
So true.
Kelly wrote to us to ask for some help. Her boys, 8 and 9. She just asked them to pick up the bathroom every morning before school, bring down the trash, and they won't do it. She can't figure out how to get them to do it, wants some advice.
She did try consequences. She would ground them. She said they couldn't play or they had to do extra school type work.
And they're like, meh.
Okay, fine.
Whatever.
I'll do extra writing.
Mornings with Brian here, WCRF 723. Want to know your thoughts on this, 440-546-2255. We had a really interesting text message I want to chat through.
Not a huge fan of giving children options. Sometimes in life, there are not options. We're going to have to do things we don't like, and we have to find the discipline and the internal ability to do it.
There's some truth in that. Like, there's plenty of times as an adult that I do things that I don't want to do.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not certain I'm totally there in the framing of that. Like, there's very few times in my adult life, maybe it's just privileged Brian, where I am in a position where I have to do exactly what someone else wants me to do that very second. You follow me? Like, I don't like doing email. Go ahead, laugh, because you all know it's true.
We know that's true.
You don't answer my emails, and then I have to talk to you in person 3 days later because I'm still waiting on a response to my question.
I believe I've written to you and said, I'm so sorry it took so long to write this to you, blah, blah, blah. But I get around to it when I feel like it.
Or you don't sometimes.
Sometimes. But I do look at stuff.
Yeah, in adulthood,
follow
it
me?
is rare that someone is saying, do this right now or you don't get to watch TV tonight.
Or something. Or I'm not paying
Nobody
you.
says that to adults.
No.
I can watch TV whenever I want
In fact,
without doing my chores.
this person said it's, they're not a huge fan of giving kids options because as an adult, there really aren't many options. Here's my life yesterday. Okay, my garage, total disaster. We cannot park in it right now. We need to park in it.
Yeah, the winters is coming.
It's a big project for me to clean that thing up to get ready to go. I need to make like an outdoor cat warming area in the barn. I've got a couple of little
you're
projects.
a cat person.
Cat warming.
Yeah, I just don't want them to freeze to death. How about that?
That's nice.
And there's a
Fair.
couple other things I have to get done. And I need to vacuum my little studio at the house and pick it up a little bit. It's a disaster. Guess what I did yesterday?
Sat on the couch.
Laid in bed
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
and looked at social media and took a nap.
It's good.
I had a choice.
Yeah.
And I chose to do nothing because I'm an adult. And that's one of the perks of being an adult is I can choose to do that.
Mhm.
Right? So it's not, I think sometimes we make a caricature out of adulthood. That's
Like,
not totally
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And kids. I mean, kids are, there's already not enough choice in their life, I think. We were talking off the air about how much time kids spend at school. I remember being incredibly stressed as a child because I had, 7 to 8 hours of school a day in which I had to sit still and pay attention. And then I would come home and have 2 or 3 hours of homework. So if you're, I did help around the house, but if you're piling lots of chores onto that and not giving me any options about when I can do it or what I would like to do, I mean, that is a lot. That is in some ways more than a lot of adults bear.
No, you're totally right. I mean, you look at some kids' days, get up at 6 a.m., 6:30, get ready, go on a bus for far too long, a school bus. Ugh.
They're the worst.
One of my kids gets motion sick every day on the school
It's
bus.
so bouncy. Yes. Just
You get to school, you're going through the motions, all these annoying other kids that won't listen.
a lot of people at school telling you what to do.
And then you're there for hours and hours. And when you're finally done, you get back on the bus and you wait forever and you finally get home. And then you might have a few minutes before you have your activity. You do that.
Homework.
And then your dad looks at you and goes, "You never listened to me. You didn't pick up the bathroom." And the kid, I mean, in
I've been
defense of
gone
the
all
kid,
day.
yes, of course they didn't, because they were exhausted. Again, this is why I favor not having any particular chores during the week, especially during the school year. Summer's a different story. But anyway, a couple more texts coming in, 440-546-2255.
This one's really cute. It's not really a chore, but as a new father, I'm trying to help my 1-year-old understand that he can't open every drawer that he wants to. Yeah, there's scary stuff in some drawers.
And every family has their little quirks like that. Like, I don't have this issue, but I remember Janelle talked about her kids would open cabinet doors and leave them open.
Oh.
So you'd go in the kitchen and all the cabinet doors are open. That drive me crazy.
Yes.
It used to bother me with the refrigerator. The kids would come, and if we had the 2-door model side by side,
Yeah.
they'd open both
Two-door
doors
model.
and they'd be looking and back and forth. And I'm like, one side was a freezer, one's a refrigerator. So open one and,
Look in there.
nothing you want that's cold. Well, then look for something frozen. But, both of them wide open.
Wow.
What about teenagers who claim to be adults but refuse any responsibility? I think that's a little bit. That's different than an 8 or
Different
9-year-old
story.
doing chores.
It's a different story, but I think we also forget sometimes when our kids are at that phase, like maybe they're 18, 19, 20, 21, around there somewhere. You forget how many things you're providing for them and without question. So for example, let's just say it's your 19-year-old and they're using your car to get to their job. Okay. Why? You're like, listen, you don't want to help out around the house? That's fine, but you're not going to drive my car. How am I going to get to work? I don't know. I guess you'll have to figure that out, won't you?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not taking my car. I'm using it.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are lines
Yeah.
you can start to draw.
Yeah.
And they will adjust at some point.
Yeah, if you'd like to claim that you're an adult and you don't have to do these things around the house, then you don't get the privileges of getting other things around the house.
Yeah, you should teach kids and teenagers responsibility, but there does come a point where reality just kind of smacks them in the face and you realize that you're at a certain age, boundaries have been set, and you have to take responsibility, and you'll learn through that.
So, but again, I don't have all the answers. It sounds like I'm telling you I'm doing it perfectly. Trust me, I sometimes lose sleep over what if I'm doing this totally wrong and I'm ruining my kids. We all have those things.
Yeah.
I have tons of regret about how often I was walking around angry and impatient. I talked to a friend who works for Moody Radio years ago, and he said he was watching old home videos of his kids. And he's a little bit older than me, so his old VHS tapes. And he wanted to shake himself in the videos and go, settle down. Why are you so impatient? Stop it. But, we all have those things. All I can say is, we got to do our best to tone it down. And a lot of us parents get all wound up about stuff that don't need to get wound up about.
Yes, we're putting our own anxiety on our kids, which is not fair to them.
No, not at all.